Hello again. A couple odds and ends to wrap up the chapter. Independence is impaired if the close relative of anyone on the engagement team, anyone in position to influence the engagement, or all partners in the engagement office. So I've got limited memory, so I'm going to just remember this is almost the same as covered members. It's not quite. It doesn't include the 10 hours of non-audit work, but this is very similar to covered members, so I understand that. And I'm going to go to the holds a financial interest in the client that's material to the, okay, well, we've already covered that, right? So if they're a covered member, all these people are covered members. If they're a covered member and a close relative holds a financial interest that's material to the close relative, it will impair independence. I know that already. Holds a financial interest that enables the relative to exercise significant influence over the client. Well, technically that's different because it's possible that Warren Buffett could have an investment in a small firm that enabled him to exert significant influence, and yet the amount of the money was not material to Warren. However, everybody I know, if their financial interest is such that they can exert significant influence over the client, it will probably be material to them. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'm going to say those bottom two, covered member, financial interest that's material to a close relative, will impair independence. The one I want to focus on is holds a key position with the client. So if any of these people, if anybody on the engagement in a position to influence the engagement, all partners in the engagement office have a close relative who holds a key position with the client, it will impair independence. Now, what is a key position with the client? They have primary responsibility or important responsibility in the support of components of the financial statements. They're responsible for preparing their financial statements. So if they're involved in the preparation or an important part of the preparation of the financial statements, to us, that's a key position. So how would I know that? Well, when I study the internal controls, when I obtain an understanding of the internal controls over financial reporting, wouldn't I identify those functions that are key components of the financial statements? And wouldn't I identify the departments that are responsible for preparing the financial statements? So in gaining an understanding of the internal controls, I believe I would identify the key positions. Ability to influence, these would be the people, the board of directors, the CEO, the CFO, chief operating, chief accounting officer, anybody in the C-suite. So the chief marketing officer, the chief intelligence officer, the chief information officer, any of those people, even though they may not be directly involved in the financial statements, the chief marketing officer undoubtedly has the ear of the CEO and probably the CFO. The controller, the treasurer, the director of internal audit, these people are all involved in the preparation of financial statements, so obviously those will be key positions. Other rules, table 4 on page 109, it lists them. I would read them once. I wouldn't memorize them. I'm not going to test them. Confidential client information. I want to point out that we do not have privilege. We don't disclose client information. We consider it confidential and out of respect for the client. We don't talk about client information. However, this does not exempt us from subpoenas. So if we're subpoenaed from a court, we'll have to give that information to the court. If we're being reviewed by our practices being reviewed as part of a peer review, we're going to share the information. Okay. So we don't enjoy privilege. So in legal cases, in some cases, the attorney has client privilege. So if they're going to trial, the attorney cannot be forced to tell information about his client. A priest has privilege. Your doctor has privilege. So privileged information, we don't have privilege, but we want to respect our clients and we want to maintain confidentiality. We don't accept contingent fees. Now the fees may vary if the engagement's more complex than we thought, but it can't be based on the outcome. So if we give you an unmodified opinion, we expect a higher fee than if we give you an adverse opinion. No, that's not allowed to be. But if we find out the audit is more complicated than we thought, then we can increase our fee. So those are just a couple of odds and ends to wrap up the chapter. Have a good day, and I will see you in the next chapter.